Sumasaludo tayo sa ating pong Vice President at Education Secretary Sara Duterte sa kanya pong matapang na pagharap, pagtalakay sa nasabing budget ng Department of Education sa lower house. At pilit nilang pinag-iinitan ng confidential funds na imbis na gamitin ito ay ibilin na lamang daw ng mga sili at iba pang paggagamitin. Matapang at tahasang sinabi ng ating pong Vice President Sara Duterte na ang nasabing confidential funds ay kailangan niya po na ito upang labanan ang recruitment ng terrorism sa mga eskwelahan at ang mga sexual abuses at ang mga droga na pinapasok na rin sa school. Sa pagsagot ng ating pong Vice President ay tila natameme sila. Sabagat tama nga naman po, sa harapan nila ay sinunog sila ni Inday Sara na nasabing confidential funds gagamitin para hindi ni sila makapagpatuloy pa na makapag-inganyo sa ating pong kabataan. Narito po ang nasabing video.
Well,
Okay, so I'll direct the question to the official in charge
your
of
last
finance.
question. We can have a short manifestation to close.
Okay, sige. I'll just leave this final question. Then, depende na lang po sa DEP-ED kung masasagot. In case there will be an amendment in the NEP to realign confidential funds and good governance programs to specific itemized programs in education, kagaya ng provision ng school supplies, will DEP-ED be willing and able to utilize such funds? Yun na lang, Madam Chair. Maraming salamat.
Salamat, Rep. Manuel. Madam Secretary.
Yes, opo. I'd like to add to the answer of Yusek Cabiola. We're actually done with the review. We are currently presenting it. We initially presented it to the MANCOM, EXECOM, and then we will present it to other sectors from the government and the private sector as well. And we are currently starting with the review on grades 11 to 12, and then it will go through the same process. It will go through presentations so that comments and suggestions from all the sectors can be collated by the Department of Education, and we come up with the new curriculum for the K-12 program. However, during our discussions, it will take 2 to 3 years for us to implement new curriculum for the K-12. And I am trying to push the curriculum and instruction strand to do it in 1 year, and we will update you on that if we will be able to implement a new curriculum in a year or two. We're talking about academic school year. With regard to the confidential funds, there are so many issues, and you see it in the news with regard to our work in the Department of Education, the issues and challenges that we face in the Department of Education. Some of which very recently in the news are sexual grooming of our learners by their peers or their teachers, the recruitment to terrorism, active shooter copycats and active shooter issues and problems, recruitment in insurgency, recruitment of children in illegal criminal activities, the drug use of DEP-ED personnel and drug involvement of learners, the success of projects, activities, and programs depend upon very good surveillance and intelligence. Dahil hindi po ninyo matatarget kung sino ang isusolusyon ninyo kapag hindi po kayo nakagather ng credible intelligence and surveillance sa mga problema na gusto nating solusyonan sa loob ng Department of Education. And all this relate to our mandate that we deliver quality, basic education to our learners. And of course, education of our children relates to our national security as well. Thank you.
Yun, Madam Chair, nag-a-average ang mga class size ng 40, 50, 60 tapos walang upuan. Madam Chair, dapat seryosohin natin ito, no? Bigyan natin ng atensyon yung tumitinding education crisis. Kailangan po tugunan ng gobyerno yung kakulangan sa pasilidad, yung classrooms, yung kagamitan, yung mga guro na lubos na naapektuhan dito sa kalidad ng edukasyon para po talagang makausad tayo, Madam Chair. And my question is, meron po kayong 150 million confidential fund sa DEP-ED. Para po saan ito? Kasi I believe yung Office of the Vice President, meron na siyang 500 million confidential fund na nakalagay. And ito, 150 million. And in the 2021 and 2022 wala pong ganito.
Yes, thank you. The Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education are two separate entities. They are two separate departments of the government, and they have separate mandates as well. As explained earlier, number one, the success of a project, activity, or program really depends upon very good intelligence and surveillance, because you want to target specific issues and challenges. And because these specific issues and challenges are all illegal, like say for example, as previously mentioned, sexual grooming of learners, recruitment in terrorism and violent extremism, drug use of DEP-ED personnel, these are not laid out for our regular personnel to see. That is why we need the help of the security cluster and the security sector to address these issues and challenges to basic education. And as I said, basic education has a direct link to the national security of our country. We are truly interested in the quality of education of our learners.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice President. Madam Chair, kanina ipinakita yung krisis natin sa edukasyon. Yung ating kung gaano kalala ang learning crisis na kinakaharap ng mga estudyante sa iba't ibang antas, elementary hanggang high school, very low achievement levels in reading, mathematics, science. At nagpahayag naman ang DEP-ED ng kanilang mga commitment at target, di ba, na gagawin. Pero wala pa po ako nakikitang konkreto, Madam Chair, sa kanilang presentation. Pero ang tanong ko, Madam Chair, bakit sa kabila ng ganitong kalalang problema ng ating mga estudyante, ang priority legislative agenda pa rin ng DEP-ED ay ang mandatory ROTC. Ano naman ang kinalaman ng ROTC sa pagpapataas ng reading comprehension, mathematical ability, and science sa ating mga sa ating mga estudyante? Madam Chair.
Madam Secretary.
Yes, thank you. Because the problems on access, equity, quality, resiliency, and well-being and governance, these have already supportive legislation. Ang dami-dami na pong nagawang legislation, magagandang legislation for basic education. And ang nakikita na lang po namin na so far sa ngayon na kailangan ng legislation ay yung mga wala pa pong legislation. So right now we are working on all the laws that were passed by Congress na nagsusuporta sa basic education po. Thank you.
Madam Chair, so legislation ang sinasabi ng DEP-ED. So ano po yung gusto nyong legislation para mapataas natin yung reading comprehension ng mga bata at saka yung mathematics and science abilities? So kasi itong ROTC talagang priority pa rin naman ito ng Marcos administration. So bakit ROTC? Bakit hindi yung para to answer the problem ng learning crisis na binanggit natin?
Madam Secretary.
Yes, apo. Primarily, na-mention po natin doon sa ating presentation, if the Department of Education is given the budget that it is requesting, we will be able to open more programs to address the learning problems of our students. So initially po, lumapit na kami sa Pangulo at sinabihan ko po ang Pangulo na if you give me 100 billion, I will solve all the problems of basic education. And that is what I want to reiterate as well to Congress and the House of Representatives. If you give us, the people here sitting in front of you, 100 billion, we will be able to solve the problem in 6 years. Thank you.
Sana, Madam Chair, makita natin yung concrete na mga solution ng DEP-ED. Pangatlo, Madam Chair, regarding naman ito sa mga teachers, alam natin bakit hindi tayo nakakapag-encourage ng mga magagaling na teachers sa senior high school na katulad ng binanggit ng DEP-ED dahil nga sa kababaan ng sweldo at saka yung mga benefits natin ay talagang hindi rin naman ganoon ka-enticing. Naniniwala po ba dito ang DEP-ED?
We would like to request our USEC for the BHROD to present the wages, benefits, and emoluments of our teachers. Thank you.
Yes, Rep. Castro.
I opened it already.
You can use the microphone of Rep. Manuel, Rep. Castro.
Madam Chair, gusto ko pong pasagutin ng ating Vice President and Secretary ng Education. Naniniwala po ba kayo na dapat taasan ang sweldo ng ating mga guro?
Yes, okay. So we will not present the existing salaries, wages, and benefits that we give to our teachers. But I will relate what the Secretary of Labor and Employment and the Secretary of the Department of Education discussed about the salaries of teachers. So I presented to him a comparison of the salaries between the private educational institutions and public schools. And clearly, we see there that there is a wide disparity between the salaries of teachers in private schools. And the Secretary of Labor and Employment is of the opinion that the market standard for salaries is the private sector. So in this case, if the government continues to give or increases in the salary of teachers in the government sector, this will put undue pressure in the private educational institution, thus creating a mass migration of teachers from the private schools to the public schools, which we actually see now. We have private schools na nawawalan ng teachers dahil lumilipat po sa Department of Education. And this will force more closures on private schools dahil ang market standard po dapat ay ang sweldo sa private schools and private education.
Rep. Castro.
Madam Chair, narinig ko na yan sa mga past administration. Laging kino-compare ang sweldo ng mga teacher sa public, sa private. Pero nakalagay sa constitution natin, dapat i-compare yon sa cost of living, syempre yung consumer price index, etc. Actually, yung 25,000 pesos na sweldo ng mga teachers natin, Madam Chair, way below yan kahit na doon sa mga counterpart sa ibang mga bansa. 50 to 60,000 yung pinakamababang sweldo ng teachers sa sa ibang bansa. So sana mapag-isipan ng Department of Education kung paano mapapataas natin ang sweldo ng mga teachers so that maka-entice tayo na mas magagaling ng mga teachers na pumunta sa public school, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you, Ma'am Castro. We really take note of your comments and we will endorse that to the Department of Budget and Management, which decides on the salaries of government employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President. So, magkano po yung proposal ng DEP-ED sa medical allowance, sa teaching supplies allowance, at saka sa internet allowance? Dahil sinasabi natin ngayon, di ba, we think out of the box. So isa sa pwedeng madagdagan sana ay yung mga allowances ng teachers dahil sila na lagi yung nag-aabono eh. So kung we think out of the box, so magkakaroon pa rin ng blended learning. Narinig ko po yung sa DEP-ED, institutionalize yung blended learning, di po ba? So meron po bang proposal ang DEP-ED para taasan ng medical allowance? Kasi 500 yan sa kasalukuyan.
Kindly wind up, Rep. Castro.
Yes, Madam Chair. Yung internet allowance ay 1,000. Yung teaching supplies allowance ay 3,500. So, meron po bang proposal para madagdagan itong mga allowances ng teachers po para dun sa tinitingnan natin na think of the box na mga method and strategies in teaching.
Madam
Yes,
Secretary,
yes, we call Yusek Sevilla of the Finance Run.
Yusek Sevilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is a national budget call issued by the Department of Budget and Management. This is an instruction to all government agencies kung hanggang saan lang po ang pwede nilang isubmit at i-propose. Kasama po ang personal services or mga pangsweldo, benefits, and allowances na hindi po allowed na mag-propose ang government agencies kasi ito po ay standardized or a policy that should be done by the Department of Budget and Management and the Civil Service Commission. So even po tayo ay mag-submit din doon, automatically tanggal po ito sa system ng DBM. Kasi ang cash allowance ay isa pong legal na benefit na ibinibigay sa ating mga teachers na under sa batas ng General Appropriations Act. So ito po ay isang power of the purse na pwede po mangyari dito sa Kongreso at sa Senado. Maraming salamat.
Last
Castro.
manifestation,
Please, yes, please.
Madam Chair. So kung magpapasa po ng batas ang Kongreso ng dagdag na medical allowance, teaching supplies, internet, susuportahan ba ito ng DEP-ED?
That was your last question,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Secretary.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, we support all the legislation that will help our teachers, and we request Congress as well that if there are legislations on this subject to include the budget, the appropriation, nakalakip po doon sa benefit na ibibigay sa kanila. Thank you.
I love it, I want some more. I like it, I love it, I want some more.